Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all well. Thank you for joining us. This morning's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Baivo, Rav Yaakov Tzvi ben David Aryeh, Sivia Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Sipora Feigele Bas Ruben Baruch, Shalom ben Eleli, Ben Bas Baivo from Shechan Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Caleb Bela Bas Henachim Yochio ben Moshe Eliezer, Sarah Malka Bas ben Yomin, and today being Tuesday, Yotzak are as follows: Shalom Cohen, Yehuda Zelig ben Mechania Hirsch, Yosef Leib ben Yaakov Kozma, Mirach Bas Reb Shmuel Mordechai Eagle, and Mordechai ben Hershel Morris, Yisrael Shmuel Spawn, Michal ben Hershel Morris, Moshe Yitzchak ben Chaim Gershon Temkin. Wish each and every one of them and their respective families long life and only simchas. So, yesterday we concluded the learning for the 10 paths to God by Rabbi Sachs, and today I thought we would start something new. Okay, so what we are going to study this morning is a book that you are all familiar with, but we hopefully over the course of the next few days and weeks we will have a fresh perspective to it. Okay, so let us make a start. The book is Ethics of the Fathers, okay, Pirkei Avot in Hebrew, and it is a section of the oral tradition, the Mishnah, and it contains some of the most phenomenal statements and adages that are early sages made, relating to behavior, relating to life, relating to their philosophy and outlook to the world at large. So let's make a start with it. One of the points to bear in mind when we hear statements like Hillel Omer, Hillel used to say, Rabbi Yehuda said, they said many things. And why is it that in Ethics of the Fathers we find that these people are chosen for these statements? Right? There was many statements that they said. And the answer is because our rabbis tell us that each statement that the sages said, it was their adage. It was who they were. So therefore, it was their raison d'etre. It was what they lived by. Okay? So in other words, if I was to ask you about certain people in society and you would say, I don't know, Winston Churchill, J.F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, there would be a statement for each of them that you would be able to identify. I'm sure it's on the tip of your tongues. And you would have a certain image of that person as a result of identifying that statement with them. Okay? In other words, there is a certain statement that embodies their outlook, their philosophy, and their lives. And we'll see as we go through how it fits in. But the first statement is something that we are all familiar with, but let us refamiliarize ourselves with. It is a statement that's made in each of the chapters of Ethics of the Fathers, and it goes like this. Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek la'olam haba. All of Israel has a portion in the next world. Shnema, as the verse in Yeshaya says, va'ameich kulam tzadikim. Your people are all righteous. The Olam Yeshuaretz, they're always going to have an inheritance in the land, right? Their actions are to be praised. And therefore, the idea is that we are, when we speak about the land, we're speaking about the next world, and therefore we all have Israel has a portion, all of Israel has a portion in the world to come. Well, if we all have a portion in the world to come, I hear you ask, well, why don't I just sit back, have a Bacardi and Coke, and do nothing? Don't have to keep the Torah. I'm part of the Jewish people. So that there are, as we all know, whenever we remember the good old days before COVID, or please God, after COVID, when we are able to go to the theater or the cinema, or we go to Ascot, or we go to any football matches, there, if your husband buys you a seat and he says to you, I got you, we got seats for the opera. What's the first question that somebody will say, a Jewish wife will say? Where are the seats? Are we at the front or are we at the back? Are we behind a pillar? Are we on the left or are we on the right? Am I going to have to kriech, my neck, so I can see what's going on? Or did you get seats right in the middle so that I don't have to move left or right? I can see straight ahead and see the full vista of the opera. And it's the same. Are we behind the goal? Everyone always tells me, I've got seats, Rami, I've got seats right over the halfway line, not too high, not too low. I can touch the players as they come out. And so the same idea is here. When, of course, as part of the Jewish people, we are all one entity, and therefore, as the Jewish people, as long as we identify and we stay connected as part of the Jewish people, then we have a place in the world to come. But there are places, and there are places in the world to come. And I think that well, we'll see. There's many statements. I don't want to preempt what we're about to say, but let's leave it there and let's make a start. Good morning, everyone that is still joining us, and to newcomers and old faces. Peter, Michael, David, Caroline, Michael, Powell. Good morning to each and every one of you. The first statement for Ethics of the Fathers goes like this. This is the first Mishnah. Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Moses received the Torah from Sinai. And then he tells us that he passed it on to Joshua. Joshua passed it on to the Zakanim, to the elders passed it on to the prophets, and then the prophets passed it on to the men of the Great Assembly. What exactly are we describing here? Well, friends, what we are describing is the unbroken chain of our transmission, of our tradition that was passed from teacher to student, from student who became the teacher to his student, and so on and so forth. And that unbroken chain is, one of the things that people struggle to understand and comprehend in this regard is they'll say, well, why do we need a chain of tradition? At the end of the day, it's all written down in the good book, so I can just do it on my own. And the answer is quite simply, you can't. Firstly, we should recognize that we are discussing here with the oral tradition. The oral tradition was not originally written down. And even when it was written down, one has to have a teacher to be able to understand it. There are things that are written and there are things that are the unwritten. And to have the right perspective and the right handle in being able to understand, then you need a tradition. So I want to show you, and we're going to conclude this part for today. I want to show you in this book. I know, Powell, you've already seen it. You'll notice there's a column going down there. If you want, I can make a photocopy of it for you. And it goes on. Student, teacher, teacher, student, all the way through. Page after page, generation after generation, all the way down till today. And what we are doing when I am teaching, and when you teach your children and grandchildren, is you are creating the next link in that unbroken chain. And if you go back, you'll be able to trace your chain, your unbroken chain, your tree, wherever it is. We all branch off in different directions, but we all come back to the same source. And therefore, that is a tremendous sense of pride, but also, like Rabbi Sachs spoke about yesterday, responsibility. Because if I'm holding that baton, and that baton has been passed from my great, 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 great grandfather with tremendous self-sacrifice, persecution, even torture, suffering, the Holocaust, and all the other tragedies that our nation has suffered. And they managed somehow to pass it on to the next generation. And now it has come into our laps. Are we going to be the generation that drops it? Are we going to be in our branch the one that drops that baton? Or is it in a safe pair of hands? And are we going to be able to pass it on so that when we have our tree, when we have our chain, we'll be able to write our names at the end of this list. From beginning to end, just out of interest, you should know that there are approximately 128 generations, 128 teacher, student. You can have different variations, but it comes around 128 generations of student, of teacher, student. And that should empower us. I find it awe-inspiring when I see that we can chase our tradition all the way back to Moses and to God, and also on the other hand, it traces all the way back to me. And if it comes back to me, the buck stops with me. It means I've got to make sure that there is another link in that chain. As we say, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So we'll continue with this. Thank you, David, for welcoming everyone. We'll continue with this tomorrow, and we are going to go through every one of these Mishnayos, every one of the ethics of the fathers, these great timeless teachings into life, philosophy, behavior, and so much more. Continue with Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set the table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forevermore. Memorial prayer. Adon olamim zacho es nishmo es lebas Bible Rabbi Yaakov ben David Aret Tibi bas Mordechai Avram David ben Slavis les Perfectus ben Baruch Shalom ben Eli ben the best five from Shams Yaakov Shmuel Kela ben Basanach Yim Yochil ben Moshe Eliezer Sarah Mark bas Binyamin Shalom Cohen Yehuda Zelik ben Nechania Hersh La Yosef Lei ben Yaakov Kozma Mira Rocha bas Reb Shmuel Mordechai Ego Michael ben Hershel Morris Yisrael Shmuel Spawn Michael ben Hershel Morris, Moshe Yitzchak ben Chaim Gershon Temkin, Shel Cholil Amon Beganede Menuchasam Lachin Velurachamim, Yasivein Beseita Kanafab Lelamim, Yesovas Chet Nishvasam Night Nachlasam, Yanuchu B'Shlom Shkavam Benamar, Amen. Before Shleiman now, Misha Bercha B'Sein Rabim Yisrael Yaakov Mosharon David Shlomo Yivorech Repes Achaylim, Babu Shanim Ispalim Babu Ram, Bezchas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalirachem Aleihem Lachem Lafosam, Bishlach Nim Fushlim and Shmem Lacholivim Besoch Shach Yisrael, Rafus HaNefesh, Rafus HaGuf, Hashemag Zmakariv Amar, Amen. Wishing long life to those that have Yortzeit and those that are saying Kaddish, wishing everyone well, and please God, look forward to seeing you later in the week. Wasn't Rabbi Mervyn Haya from the Simon Wiesenthal Center incredible last night? So inspiring. Have a great day. See you later in the week.